Hello everyone. So I'm going to try to make this quick screencast here as quick as I can be, just to give you an oversight of the website, the Moodle, and how we're going to use it this year, and how I'm recommending that you kind of dive in. I am Mr. Viles, and I'm going to try to be a good tour guide here as we look at this. Now, I'm logged in as a student now, so this should be exactly how it looks to you. I want to point out a few things right off the bat. As you scroll down, this is my contact information right here. And one of the key pieces in an online class is you're going to want to email me or call as soon as you have any issues. What could be a small problem that I would see your body language, I would see a slumped shoulders, or I would see a confused look on your face with a certain term, and we could quickly correct that in a classroom environment. Online, I'm really counting on you emailing me. And don't feel that it has to be a big issue in order to email me. The little question is entirely fine, and I'll give you back that little answer, and we can keep you rolling. We want to avoid frustration. Once this gets going, I think we'll find that this actually has some benefits over the traditional classroom where we would meet face to face. But we want to get used to that, and one of the small hurdles that can really stop an online student is the unasked question. Most things can be fixed pretty quickly. Now, I want to point out some other features of our Moodle site as we get going. Again, this should look like your screen when you log in. And if you look at the upcoming events tab, this is fed from our calendar. And I've gone through and updated the calendar. There were some early mistakes. I am still learning Moodle myself and some of the features and how it all ties together. But the calendar now seems pretty correct to me. And if you notice anything that seems odd, please, again, email me right away. But I've gone through and I've given you a guideline. Unit 1, and I tried to do this for all units, this is how long we're going to spend in Unit 1. You can see we're going to be pretty much the month of September in this first unit. If we look down, I've given you some due dates for the chapters. You don't want to fall behind in the text. As I mentioned in the email I sent out, the Stearns textbook really is the bread and butter of the course in that most of the content, the history that you'll need come May when you take the AP exam, is going to come out of Stearns. And so you do not want to fall behind on that reading, and you certainly don't want to skip that reading. You are doing yourself no favor at all. You will get to that test in May, and if you haven't diligently kept up with the text reading and taken notes on that reading, you'll just find yourself unprepared. We don't want that. We're competitive. We want to compete in May, and we can put you in a position where you can do well, but it really requires that you're on task with the textbook. So I've given you a guide of where you should be in the textbook. 1 and 2, the first two chapters, you want to have those done by Friday the 14th. The following week, you want the next two chapters, and by the Tuesday after that, chapter 7. A quick note on this, I will often reconfigure the order of the text chapters in order to kind of align better with our units and also align better with how I think it flows and a student can understand it. So you'll notice in this case, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 7. And we'll often backtrack and go back and grab the missed chapters, but I may also cut out a chapter or two if I feel it's not entirely relevant and what we need. So the calendar is going to help really keep you organized, and that upcoming events tab feeds from it. I do want to right now jump over. I'm going to click on the calendar right here where it says September. And some of you, if you are very familiar with Moodle, you might know how to do all this, but I want to show people who maybe are not so much. This is a nice view in order to see the month ahead. What you can see is where it's highlighted. Unit 1 has started, and you can see I wanted it to feed through so you would see all these days were in Unit 1. Here's where you should be finished with chapters 1 and 2, chapters 3 and 4, chapter 7 on the 25th of September, and then we will have an essay that you will want to complete on the 27th. Finally, and where I want to head next, is Unit 1 workbook due. The workbooks are due at the end of a unit. Now you have some flexibility with workbooks because it's an online class, and I'm not going to collect assignments in the first unit anyway. I'm not going to collect assignments with particular due dates for each assignment. If I find that this system does not work for most of us because we need firmer due dates, then I will lock those down in the second unit. But what I'd like to try to offer you is, because this is an online class, and because the workbook, the activities within the workbook are supporting your textbook reading, What I'd like to offer you is a chance to have a bit more of a flexible schedule and collect these as a batch at the end of the month as a single workbook. But again, I reserve the right. We might change that in the second unit, but this is how I'd like to offer it you. I know you are fitting in this online class with probably a full schedule at your own high schools with traditional face-to-face classes, and it might be that some of the work in this online class you might do more heavily on the weekends to accommodate a work schedule. Perhaps some of you are also playing sports and music, and you might have some busy schedules there. So I want to give some flexibility if I can. However, if after this first month I see that due dates were not met, workbooks were late, chapters were unread, I might reserve the right in the second unit and for the rest of the year to fasten down those due dates in a more chunked up manner. Um, this is an AP course, which is to say it's a college course. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to manage your time, and I think you'll be very successful with that. If I find we can't do that, I will backtrack. Now, out of the calendar, let's look at what we also have going in unit by unit. If I scroll down, first thing, I've given you an opportunity here for class introduction. Whenever you see this face-to-face, this little icon, what that's telling you is that there's a forum there. And a forum is just a discussion board. And if we come in here, you will see if you click on this, this is one discussion topic. It says introduce yourself. And if you click on it, you would have an option here to post. And you would do that by clicking here and clicking reply. Now, I really want you to get used to doing these online discussion boards. They're going to be a really pivotal portion of our class. It's a way in which we can communicate with each other and discuss issues. And by all means, feel free to use those forums to discuss questions you have, problems you might have with each other as well as with me. I will occasionally use those discussion forums also as a graded assessment. And giving you an example of that will be here in Unit 1. Now, at the front of every unit has a title. And I try to outline the chapters in Stearns, that is your textbook, that we'll read during that unit. And this unit has 5 chapters of the textbook. I'll try to give you a brief overview, which is what you're seeing right here, of kind of what will be talked about in that unit. And then there are certain pieces that will repeat. And one of the most important ones is this. It's the workbook. Whenever you see this icon, and you'll see for every unit we have in, every unit has a workbook. These workbooks are the class activities. And this is work that, again, you will have a certain amount of time, and you want to pace yourself in order to complete the workbook assignments. If you click on it, each workbook will have a few pages over here, and they're outlined in the table of contents. And generally speaking, each page will have some activity at the end of it. There'll be some content, some material for you to read over, to watch. In this case, a bit of a video to view. And then there will be an activity at the end, something that you will want to complete and that I will look to assess. If we scroll down here, you'll see I've embedded a part of a movie. And if you see here the directions, Guns, Germs, and Steel Part 1, watch all of Parts 1 through 6. So some of you might expect, when this clip ends, it's about 8 minutes long. There'll be a Part 2, and you're going to watch Parts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is about an hour documentary. After that, if you've seen that film, you'll come down. And this is exactly how you'll approach every workbook. You want to take things in order. Anthropology versus archaeology. And you would read this text. And difference between anthropology and archaeology. You would read that text, which leads now to this assignment. And you see the assignment here is in a heading text. The assignment's in bold, and it says, copy the Venn below into your own Docs account. And by that I mean Google Docs, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. And fill it out using your notes from Guns, Germs, and Steel and readings from Chapter 1. That's Chapter 1 of Stearns. Down here underneath this Venn diagram is a link. Click here to copy the Venn into your Docs account. And if you do click on that link, it would take you to a place where you could copy this into your own Google account. And now I want to pause and discuss people who may not be familiar or have a Google account. I'm going to send out another screencast just like this to walk you through how to make one, if that is a problem. The reason we're going to need a Google account is because Google has a few services that are hard to replicate in Moodle, or at least hard for me. And Moodle is a great tool, and it can host this website with a lot of the content, but there are really two pieces that I need from Google for us to use this year in order to be as kind of dynamic as I want to be. One of them is called Google Docs, and Google Docs is kind of like a Word program, Microsoft Word. You can type papers in Google Docs, and you will type your essays there. You can also, as we just saw from that past assignment, they have a drawing program where you can make these kind of flow charts and diagrams, and we can fill them out. You can make it so you can type right in here. A lot of the activities will involve working in Google Docs, either using a slideshow, making an essay, using the drawing feature. And so you'll need that account. And I will send out a screencast to show people how to set up an account and also how to share a folder with me. The other piece from Google that we'll need is something called Google+. Now, from the survey data I've received so far, very few of you have ever really used Google+. What it is it's going to be a way that we can have a group video conference, and that's going to really be important to us. We're not going to do well if during the entire year you and I cannot talk in a face-to-face kind of fluid way. And of course we can't meet physically, but through video conferencing it's very much like Skype. You can check in and I can check in with you on a weekly basis and just touch base and make sure that you're following the assignments, you're understanding what you're reading, and I can answer those questions. And not only answer questions, but just kind of talk about the material, some of the fun of history, the play of the ideas. So I will be sending out that other video cast here, screencast, on how to set up a Google account and how to have Google Plus and set up Google Docs. But for now, I just want to continue with the Moodle. So again, looking at Unit 1, we have the workbook. That's where the assignments are. We will have at least one summative assessment, a major assessment. These will count more heavily towards your grade. And these are here in the handed-in assignments. Usually they are essays and or exams that cover the unit material. This is an example, this DBQ. You will write the essay for this DBQ, and I'll hand it out to you when the time comes. And you will write that essay, and then you will submit the URL to your Google Doc. And that's how you'll hand it in. If you have written it in a Microsoft Word, that is fine, but I really would prefer you to get in the habit of writing in Google Docs. And the reason for that is going to be much more easy for me to make notes on your paper, hand it back to you. Some other pieces that are in every unit, like in this Unit 1. I've added a video playlist. There is a series of YouTube videos done by a man who is kind of covering all of world history, and he's pretty funny, and his facts are pretty good, and I think it's going to help you see the big picture and digest the material. Stearns can be a very difficult textbook, and these video playlists will help be another way of kind of looking at the material and understanding it. And again, we have a very distinct goal here. We want to learn about world history, yes, and we want to have fun with the ideas. I mean, in many ways, those are the most important goals. But we are preparing for a test, a major exam, and you want to do well. You're putting in the time, and I want to help you do well. These video playlists, they are optional. I'm not assigning them, but I highly recommend that you view them. I highly recommend that when we get closer to the test in May, that you view them again, because you will find them very helpful in kind of reminding yourself of the major points at these different places in history. And then, of course, the last piece here is, again, it is another forum. You see the icon. And in this forum, there is a question that comes from the workbook. And what you will find is there is an activity in the workbook on migrations, and the activity ends with this discussion here about migrations in the forum. And when we have finished, basically at the end of September, we'll move on, and this is Unit 2. You can see a lot of the same elements. There's your workbook. There's your summative assessment. There's your video playlist. Now, I reserve the right. I'm still adding material into the Moodle. There are exams coming. I know you're worried that you won't get the exams, but they'll be there. And as we go down through each of the units, there'll be more and more material coming in. But Unit 1 is right now ready to go, and it's ready for you to begin after this weekend jumping in. The last thing I've provided to you that I want to point out is this over here. It's called the key concepts. If you click on these links, you'll see they are time stamped. Basically, each period of world history in AP World has a distinct periodization. For instance, the fifth periodization is 1750 current era. That is what CE stands for, to 1900 current era. If you click on these are overviews of the major themes of these particular periods. So from 600 BCE, that's before the current era, to 600 current era, these are the big ideas. The key concept one here is the development and codification of religions and cultural traditions. And what you get if you flick through the slideshow is just playing with that idea of developing a codification of religious and cultural traditions. And these will give you some ideas of how that worked. And you can see we're writing things down, the different religions. And within these slides, there are links that will further explain, for instance, in this case, Taoism. If we flick through here, poetry, Taoism's influence on poetry. I highly recommend you look through these. These key concepts are really vital. The AP exam that you will take in May really emphasizes thinking about world history through these concepts. And as you will see, when we get down here to the second unit, key concepts 2, these concepts are really important during this unit, which is why I've put that link there. And you're going to want to go back and consult these from time to time. The way to use them is after you have read the Stearns, after you have done the activities, you should be able to flick through these slides and it should kind of make sense to you. What you're looking at, you should see that, oh yes, I can see how these Christianity is spreading, and Aristotle and Plato and Greek philosophy is their emphasis. And you look around, and this should all be familiar to you. It's not that you have direct recall, but you're starting to get a sense and a feel for the history and how it works and how it fits into these larger themes. The key concept 2, for instance, the development of states and empires. Well, really, your readings that you'll be reading after chapter 1, chapters 2, 3, 4, and 7 are all about the development of empires and states and governmental systems. And after reading the text, you're going to read through these slides, and you've heard of the Moira and the Gupta empires after reading the Stearns. And this is what the slideshows provide. It's an overview. They will be a way for us also to study, again, prior to the test in May. We'll go back and we'll use these very much, but I would highly recommend, after reading each unit's assignments, each unit's chapters, that you go back and flip through those slideshows and see how they make sense. Well, that's the website. And again, first and foremost, give me a call or an email. Email might be quicker, but email me or call me with any questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And last, use the calendar. Be sure to use the calendar as much as possible to help organize yourself. Do not fall behind. One of the real pitfalls of an online class is because you're not seeing me every day or every other day, you start to forget that you're in a class and you don't give it the weight it deserves. However, a lot of you are upperclassmen, I've seen from the survey. You want that AP score, you want to compete, and therefore you want to do this work and you want to be prepared. And I want you to be prepared and I want to help. So, continue to look at the board here for any updates to the class website, and I look forward to getting to see you all in a video conference sometime soon. Thank you.